selected it actually. There we are. Okay. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a emergency Barrel Vision.
We are fucking geniuses. We are clairvoyants of the highest degree.
Right.
I mean, I think this actually, did have to correct myself. I'm technically right from the last time I said we'll hear something within 2 weeks. But I did that a week before, and I think that one was wrong, but my most recent prediction was right. So.
Yeah, and not to mention, literally today, I remembered that, hey, we're due the roadmap at some point soon.
Yeah.
And literally, probably within, an hour or two, it came out. Which
so,
is
June
pretty
13th,
sick.
Roadmap update and Space Beach Party announcement.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Hello, miners. That's us.
You're not actually going to read this word for word, are you?
There's not much to read.
Just say, on June 20th, you can enjoy the first ever Space Beach Party. A brand new assignment, new hats to collect, festive decorations.
I don't think it's going to be that different from the normal, event. It's just that normally there's like an individual date that people celebrate. Well, this, I think, is just because, summer is a pretty vacant time for events. Like the beginning and end of the year, it's so dense with like things, but the summer's like usually left out. And a lot of games do this. They'll just make a summertime kind of update. And I thought it was possible, especially since, and I don't think that'll be on this, but that's why I thought of this, that, now there is probably dwarves that are naked in just like with their pants on, which could be seen as like
let's put like
trunks.
A pool.
Yeah.
Like an actual paddling pool.
Yeah, well, they don't really add stuff for the events. I mean, a little bit, but they don't keep them around. But
well, like snowballs. I mean, maybe there'll be like sandcastles you can build or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
you can just like pick up. It would be as simple as like it would be relatively the same action. You like pick up the sand basically, and then you put it on the ground as a sandcastle.
For some events, it actually penetrates into the games themselves. Like with Halloween and Christmas, things spawn in the map. So we could get maybe some like palm trees or like nice flowers.
I'd love palm trees.
Like some nice summery things. Like maybe the dwarves have some voice lines where like, "Oh, it's hot in here," or something like that. Like I don't know. It could be a bigger one, or it could be one of the smaller ones where there's just.
Well, I think they're going to put a little bit more effort into it because this is sort of like, this doesn't represent any specific holiday apart from just summer. So I do think it is born out of a need not just to fill that gap like in the year of events, but also just to bridge the time between seasons. Because as we found out, it's going to be slightly longer.
Yeah, than I thought. And it might be because of this, because they mentioned this further on, we'll get over this now, that for them, apparently July is a bit of a holiday for them, which is fair enough. Like, no one should be angry.
Summer holiday.
Right?
Their summer holiday, I guess.
Yeah, they just have a bit of time off, and they didn't say the entire month, they don't do anything, but it's just more of a holiday month. And so maybe they wanted to get this event out there, so, I don't know, there's something for people to do just before they kind of go off on holiday, or this is them celebrating the holiday as well. So, I don't know, it's nice, it's funky, no one should have an issue with it. We don't know how big it's going to be on scales, but we know we're going to get probably 2 new hats. It just says new hats, but it's normally 2.
Well, that means at least 2, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it is normally 2. And, normally I'm expecting a flower hat, like a ring of flowers.
Well, won't there be like basically a straw hat, like literally like Luffy's hat?
Straw hat, yeah. If they add Luffy's hat, I might bust a nut. Not gonna lie.
What about the thing that Lloyd's wearing?
Like, that's the flower hat. I mean, obviously,
right.
Like kind of ring of flowers that you kind of make. I can see that.
Or an umbrella hat.
Yeah, so there could be
umbrella
a couple.
Hat feels quite likely.
But they might save some for next year if they're going to keep doing summer ones. So
I think they will.
But I think that's obviously this is fun and all, but it's not the biggest news they've dropped here. We got the roadmap, as we mentioned, and you're probably aware.
Exactly the type of roadmap I said it would be. It's exactly the same as the Season 2 roadmap, where it outlined very basic stuff.
It is a very rough outline of not much, really. Like, covering just, like the main substance, or one half of the substance. And then not much else, really. Because,
well, let's start right at the top of the Season 3 section.
Yeah.
Like, as in right at the top, which is Q4 2022, which is a change. It's originally Q3, and that refers to quarters of the year. So this will be what that means is this will be October earliest, but I also think it will be in October.
Well, yeah, obviously in some way, shape or form they realise it's going to be a bit longer than they thought originally, but it would be a pretty big jump for it to suddenly go all the way to December. You know what I mean?
It doesn't fall outside of their plans technically, because their original idea was 4 to 6 months. So they don't want to go longer than 6 months, but it's always going to take at least 4 months for them. So this, if it comes in October, that's still around 5 months, which is what I would expect. That was the wait between season 1 and 2. So
November, it means maybe if like something took a lot longer than they thought or something like that, maybe it's a bigger upside. But
it's possible that we'll get it in November on console. I don't know. It might be
probably
late October.
But December, no one should be expecting it to come out in December unless something is wrong. Or it's a really big update for some reason, which is not
just wildly big.
What it looks like it's going to be.
Well, it either will or won't be, which sounds obvious, but when we look at certain things, the third point, it's not as big as previous updates. But when we go to the first point, where it just says new season, I guess we should probably...
I'm going to read this out loud. Attention, miners. Long-range sensors have detected a large body approaching Creus, which, as Harry read, that is the name of the...
Can you just read it first?
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense if you just read it all in one bit. So, Creus is the name of the sun in the system, apparently. How did you actually find that?
The star that Hoxie's orbits. I just looked up Galactic Creus, and then it came up with the wiki page for Hoxie's itself, and it said... Hoxie's 4 is a scorched, tidally locked planet orbiting the blue star Creus.
Alright. And
there you go.
Yep, Creus. On a parabolic trajectory. You looked that up as well.
It didn't really help that much.
No, it was a bunch of sciencey bollocks. But basically something's coming, as it says there, actually. And it's not robots, which we already knew. The robots are done. But yeah. Something big is far away and approaching.
A large body, that implies something...
Doesn't
like
imply
a celestial
something living.
body.
It doesn't.
Some kind of satellite
obviously,
or asteroid.
Yeah, it implies something big and solid. It's not like a asteroid field. It is going to be a giant asteroid, or it's a giant mechanical thing, or it's a giant living thing. It could
not
be.
I don't think it's going to be mechanical at all.
No, it's not the robots, but it could be like, I don't know, something else. But obviously, probably not. They wouldn't want to do that now. But yeah, something big's coming, and it's probably going to take about 5 months to get here. So we'll have to look forward to that. And what would be really, really cool is if we can actually see it.
I did say this, the way it sounds, because the parabolic trajectory thing, if we take that literally, it has something to do with orbits, implying this object might go into orbit, not of Hoxie's, but of the star of Creus. Either way, I think it feels like something we might be able to see, whether it makes impact with Hoxie's or it's just floating around out there. It feels like something we'd be able to see from the space rig.
There is a valid chance that it might not actually impact on Hoxie's, but we might be able to go onto it. You know what I mean? It could be like a little separate thing. Is that you?
Yeah,
like
this
a new
is sort
planet.
of why we're thinking it might be a biome.
Yeah. Once again, this is honestly, if we could read anything of that, the seasonal edition does seem to be a biome, which
it almost feels stupid to me that we didn't think of this, because it actually makes the most sense of a way to introduce a new biome would be an object crashing into Hoxie's.
Yeah.
I don't know why we didn't think of that.
Although once again, it's more of a passive things happening to DRG than them actually discovering stuff or doing stuff, which it's probably not always going to be the case, but it's happening again. New performance pass, which is, they literally say it for themselves, is nothing new really. It's going to be just about...
I do like that it says employee surveys have shown company productivity and morale increases as a result of the performance pass. That is correct.
That is quite accurate.
Now it's a bit odd to me that it says things like management is proving a new set of rewards and season challenges. I think they said this last time, something about, but they have in the sentence. It's basically saying new season challenges. There was only one technically, but I do want them to go expand on that a little bit more. It doesn't have to be season specific. Like I like things like do certain types of warnings or kill like certain enemies.
Probably.
Or,
but if it's a new biome, it's going to be play on the new biome, right? That's just what it's going to be, which makes sense. But actually, no, it probably will just be that. Maybe something else. But if there's a new enemy or like hazard or warning, but there might not be one of those. But it's so far pretty hyped on that we kind of predicted a biome, but they might surprise us. Who knows? It might not be a biome. But here's what we didn't predict, which we might have mentioned, but we didn't really play around with: new grenades.
I think we sort of said that it probably. I think we said it probably wouldn't happen.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Grenades always seemed like a fine. You know what I mean? Like but
because they have so little depth to begin with, it doesn't feel like something that needs to be added to.
Like more often than not, I forget to use them, but that's just me.
Because there's no system behind them. It's just free grenades.
Yeah,
you can have that you can choose. There's no system there. There's nothing to expand upon.
Yeah.
Apart from the selection, I guess.
Yeah.
Which they are doing.
Yeah, new grenades. Grenades multiple, so more than one, which should be expected.
More than one overall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can obviously at least one per class, but I'm thinking at least two.
Yeah, which makes sense considering originally there was 3. Oh, I still can't remember the word. Like builds, presets, classes. Like in Driller or whatever, there's like 5. I can't remember the name for it, and you're never helping. I
don't know what this is.
How? It's so obvious, but I just don't know the name for it. Just when you build a class or a character, you have 5 different choices of like builds. What are they called? Loadouts. Don't say it obvious. Clearly it was obvious, but I couldn't remember it. And you just kept sitting there like a dumb twat. Loadouts.
It's too obvious though.
Yeah, but it wasn't. I made it very apparent that it was obvious and that I couldn't put my finger on what it was called. And yeah, so previously there was 3 loadouts and 3 grenades, and then they added 2 more loadouts because there was more guns and it made sense. So maybe now they're gonna add 2 more grenades to match the loadout size. But personally, I think maybe 3 grenades per might be something, because.
There's no indication that they're going to expand the grenades, like giving them upgrades or anything like that.
Yeah, I think if they were ever going to do that, they'd be doing it now. But clearly they didn't like that idea, and they've decided to just add new grenades.
But obviously, even 3 per class, 12 grenades overall, that, to me, isn't matching the work that goes into a weapon.
Which is why there is obviously, and as it says below, other undecided stuff. There will be more than just grenades.
That's always there.
Yeah,
that's always there though.
Well, the thing is that kind of stuff is like that's going to be like the phase unite, the medical gowns, the other examples which I can't see because of the screen right now. Like that's new enemies. Actually, no, that was Season 1 didn't actually have anything like that really.
But I think the fact that it foregoes mention of specific things like new season events and stuff like that, and it's just this very strange sentence. It's like a premise for what will happen.
Yeah,
I'm getting the sense that the theme is going to be much more important than like equipment additions. So I think 2 grenades would probably be fine as long as it equals out in terms of all the other stuff they're adding. And I think it probably will, especially given the time.
I think two grenades is fine, and it would make sense.
It's a lot of variety still. It's going to create a lot of different builds, and that's what I'm excited about more than anything. When you think about it, they can do a lot.
I think there's obviously some grenades
we can do a lot.
like, especially some grenades now that they could add. Like obviously corrosion grenade, right? A goo grenade.
The sludge grenade. I don't know who that would suit really. It would suit Gunner, well, I guess, because the builds are so obvious.
Yeah, I think it would. It's either that or Scout, I think, personally. I think Scout slowing them all down with corrosion.
Yeah, and he could set it on fire as well.
Yeah.
He has a couple ways to do that.
So, yeah. And there's some like obvious ones like those, like the kind of status effect ones. And there'll be more interesting ones. Crazy. I think if there's 2 for all of them, they definitely will. And if there's 3, then they're going to be some funky grenades, right?
Well, no, if there's 3, then we're guaranteed a couple boring ones. That's the thing. I think if it's 2, they're all going to be fairly interesting.
Well, the thing is, boring is quite a rude term, right? Because
there's going to be ones that are like just sticky grenades. It'll be cool and all, but like just a shrapnel grenade where it just shoots out like spikes that do direct damage. It's very simple. I mean, that's probably a very likely one.
Very likely.
But I want them to get crazy, basically. That's what they need. When they're adding new grenades, they need to get crazy, because there's no point covering very basic ground with grenades.
Yeah, but then you're going to get to the situation where why use the boring ones? Like
some of them are already so powerful and lend themselves to very particular builds, and we understand them. Nothing's going to go away.
And I would like to also mention that now would be a pretty good time to sort out the HEs as well.
Well, I could see some specifically grenade balancing going on. Maybe they want to bring them up overall. I don't know.
Well, it's great. The HEs is not an issue of balancing, because they've balanced them. They've kept trying to balance them, and nobody is using them. Right, like it's an issue of reworking, because they're kind of boring and they're boring and they're boring.
Well, no, I agree, but what I'm talking about is what if their ideas are just so good that it's going to be impossible to not have the new grenades be overpowered. So they want to sort of bring things up, adjusting. Like grenade specific balance. They haven't balanced grenades in a while. I think the last thing they did was make it like they buffed HEs. Oh, pheromones was the last thing. It's been very small things like across like time, but maybe they need to look at things and make some more radical changes.
I think it would make sense, because as they're going to be making these new grenades, they're going to realise that the other grenades could do with a bit of tinkering. So I think I would argue a grenade overhaul is what this is going to be, as well as a bunch of new grenades. Like any flaws in the old grenades are probably going to be noticed, or they're actually focusing in on grenades, unlike normal, where they probably couldn't give less of a crap about them. But yeah, so that's going to be pretty damn interesting.
Yeah, because it's not going to add a huge amount directly. What new grenades will add will be much more indirect, and it's not something I necessarily thought was necessary. But I'm just happy that they're doing it. And it does sort of indicate to me that, well, we always said that Season 3 is going to be incredibly important in indicating how things are going to be from here on out. And so I guess if we are to take that stance, we're going to be getting additions like this every season, it looks like, even if they're fairly small.
Yeah. I mean,
so that can include new and I think new overclocks, honestly, to me is like the fallback one. That's probably that's not really news though. Maybe that's something you should say.
It does definitely seem like, because the way they say it as well. I've scrolled it off the screen. Apology, but you've got new primary weapons, you've got new secondary weapons. Now R&D's been cooking up some new grenades, basically, which kind of, I mean, obviously that is the case.
That tells me that. They are high chance for new support.
They are plumping up the arsenal as much as they can, and that, with the seasons to come, that is going to come in very many different forms. Right?
I mean, is it not odd? Like you mentioned the fact that they have season 4 and 5 listed there. It's like obviously, but because we're at least going to go to season 5. It's like obviously it's going to go beyond that, but they could have put other seasons there. Maybe that means Season 4 will be traversal tools and Season 5 will be support tools, like new ones.
Maybe,
I think they might just do that, and then afterwards they'll just add. They'll either go back to the beginning and just do it like a cycle, which would be ridiculous. More ridiculous because that would only be made absolutely ridiculous if they did add new traversal and support tools. If they're doing a cycle, that would be ridiculous. But I don't think it's gonna be that. I think after that,
I think
expand stuff. New things.
I think it's kind of interesting that they've gone for grenades, because I would argue I'm just going to put these on like tiers, but of importance you have the guns on like S tiers, right? Movement and utility probably S tier as well, with what defines a character. Grenades are probably B tier. They're pretty important, but could do with or without them kind of issue. So the fact that they've gone for grenades and not traversal and utility makes me think that maybe they won't do them, and I think there's always going to be perks. Perks that I think that's about grenade level. I would say probably in how they change the characters or use the characters, and then probably C is about like pickaxe, flares. Actually, no, pickaxe and like rig, like what kind of armor your dwarf has, and then flares is at like D of importance and should be interacted with. Right?
Bing bong.
Like yeah, so it's kind of interesting that they're like grenades, like the same level as primary and secondary weapons is grenades.
Well,
it's like,
that's not. That is
kind
of what they're saying. But no, I think that is what they're saying, but that's not actually the case.
Yeah,
they're not saying that is actually the case, but
that's
in terms of what they're adding and developing, that's how they're doing it.
Yeah, it's like we got primary weapons, secondary weapons. What other kind of weapons do you want? Oh, grenades.
I do still think there's potential that they're gonna do a bit more with grenades.
Yeah,
like in my opinion, they don't not suit upgrade trees like the pickaxe,
Well,
the pickaxe one is so redundant, but like it could work.
I think maybe it might not be. You probably, if they did add grenade upgrades, it might not come down to individual grenade upgrades. It might come down to overall, like you pick which grenade you want, and then you pick which upgrades you want for like all grenades, basically.
Yeah.
Like
either that, or they just go straight to overclocks, which in my opinion makes a little bit more sense. Where you have a single upgrade that you can pick for each grenade that sort of changes it up, instead of just the boring shit where it's just like, oh, more grenades or more damage. It's like, no, I want cool shit. Yeah, but that's also, in a way, that's kind of what new grenades will be anyway.
I think it was best note that like if they add these new grenades, and with no upgrade tree and no overclocks and none of that even mentioned or like teased or like anything, I think you kind of need to stop. They're not going to do it, right? Because if they were ever going to do it, now would be the best time, right? They're going to get. If they were going to ever add grenade overclocks or grenade upgrades, now would be a good time to do it, because they're actually adding new grenades and focusing on grenades as like a part of the game. It's like they're going to be fiddling around with grenades right now, and it's just, if they feel like doing it, they could. So if they don't do it, then they probably don't want to. But yeah.
Just if they're going to do that, just wait, because we'll do overclock upgrade grenade overclocks on the overclock workshop. Take our ideas.
And then to like wrap it up, it's just them saying that there's going to be like a new performance pass, which kind of mentioned earlier. Don't know why they said it again. A whole new theme, which we also know, more updates eventually, which is probably going to be more a month than the couple of weeks we expected for this. It's going to be more a month before we start seeing like teasers, trailers, or even actually
it's going to be
because of July, probably
like after
2 months.
July.
Yeah. It's going to be a while.
I think this is just like not a last ditch thing. But it's just like we need to we should probably give them something.
Yeah.
Before it gets even longer, so we can give them something.
Yeah, and then they're still experimenting with the grenades, adding new grenades to us, so we're testing out new ideas. Some of them have blown us away. Ha ha ha. Expect these new additions.
Of course, new DLC as well.
Yeah, new DLC, which could be maybe a summer-themed one. Maybe.
No. We'll talk about this on the podcast. I've got some ideas surrounding DLC.
Well, the DLC tends to relate to the season beforehand, right? Like, it's not to do with the season that it gets released, is it?
Yeah, it is. That's exactly what it is. It's almost like a narrative with the most recent two.
What was the season one?
I mean, the Rival Tech ones are a bit weird. That was season 1, the Rival Tech frameworks. But to me, like the Robot Rebellion armors for season 2, that's sort of like, well, they're both fitting. They're interchangeable as well, though, because they're both in keeping with the theme. I suppose,
yeah. But I don't know. I mean, obviously we'll know the theme going into this, but like for the dwarves, it will happen that instant. If they already have like meteor armor, like immediately with the DLC, it'll be a bit weird. But I don't know. It could be Well, I don't know. But it'll be interesting. DLCs are always cool. They always look good. So hopefully they keep with that. And they look nice. And they say we try to stick to scope, but we can't help ourselves from getting more cool features into the game, which is always nice because we like cool features. But we also like more constant updates. So, you know, yeah. So we can't wait to tell you more, but you'll have to wait a bit. Expect us to be quiet over the summer, as July's a vacation. Meanwhile, enjoy Season 2 and the Space Beach Party. You've earned it. Miners. Rock and Stone. With love. The Ghost Ship Crew.
Mwah.
Yeah. So that is the roadmap and new
Roadman
update that's been dropped. And it is pretty damn interesting. And expected, but also not expected. Because our confidence waned and then it suddenly just appeared. But
yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh. News.
It is news, although there is a little bit of bad news in that it is a bit more delayed than originally planned. But
yeah.
Oh well. So thanks for watching. We'll probably talk about this a bit more in the podcast, I would imagine.
No, we'll just pretend it didn't happen.
Alright. So this never did happen. Thanks for not watching anything.
What?
Harry, if you want to do your Rock and Stone. I can't do a dwarf accent.
What do I do? What?
Alright, I'll do it.
What is it? What am I meant to say?
Like and subscribe. Oh, I've done it. Don't worry. Thank you for watching.
Wait, no. Rock and